Welcome everyone. Today I have an updated version of a crafting guide for Path of Exile 2. Now looking behind me, this is a screenshot of one of the players who actually made over 1000 divine plus 1 mirror using this method just by trading in the game. And in this video, we're looking into step by step of how he used this method and what are the combinations of strategies of filterings, which is amazing to look at, and also how he was crafting items using 5 to 10 Exalt and making 1 to 2 divine. And yes, I have tried this method. It is working, guys. I made over 13 divines just testing this after learning this, and I have been trading and also making a lot of currencies. And no joke, it is working. So you can be making 1 to 2 divines using 5 to 10 Exalt. And the initial method works to help you guys get started. And here what we're learning is there is also method in pricing items and also how you want to be buying items for discount because you don't have much capital to start off with. But once you have enough capital, there is an amazing method to make over 10, 20, or even 100 divine. So yes, this is a step-by-step guide of how you can be making starting from 1 divine into 10, 20, or even 150 divine over here for this particular one. And those methods can also be duplicated. We're looking into how and also method of using the similar method into other popular builds and also items. On the second part of the video, I'll also look into method to help you guys make up and also make your items sell for more using different qualities and also different method to make different items worth more when you sell them, and also what are the breakpoints of those items that people are searching for, and also how you can use quality for 20, what you can do with items, and should you value items to try to sell them for higher. So yes, you guys can see this is a 14-page notes of different crafting guide, and we have about 9 pages of the new materials we can be learning in this video, which is actually amazing step-by-step method, and it is working. And here I'll show you guys over here, I have made 13 divines in the past few hours, and my friend has crafted those items in the past using similar method. And after price checking those items, yes, they were over 10, 20, or even 30 divine, and this is actually pretty amazing. Now, before we dive into this guide, I would like to say a big thank you and also credits to xTheFarmerx over here, and he is the content creator that shared this video. If you do want to follow him on YouTube, I do recommend you follow him. This is the first video he ever made on YouTube, and it is amazing. Not only he shares all the trade secrets with him in making over 1000 divine and also 1 mirror in the first 3 to 4 weeks of the game, he's also making the video very funny and also entertaining to watch. He talked about how he was nerfed because of the COF nerfs, and then after that he discovered a method of filtering items by waiting and then picking up items for cheaper. He then reveals his method in making currency using less than 1 divine and how he made over 150 divine using this method. And after that, he made a massive discovery of how he was able to craft magical items from 5 to 10 divine investment into 10, 20, or 150 divines. And he has some really nice images, and I like the Lord of the Ring reference. He's like, ooh, precious. So really recommending watching his video, and you can see that in his video, he showed his massive trades and even one of the biggest trade of 150 divine using items he invested for less than 20 divine. And yes, he started small, and all of a sudden he learned so much about crafting that he was able to make over 1000 divines, 1 mirror within the first 4 weeks of the game. You can see that this video was posted 9 days ago, and he's already said. So again, a big shout out and also thank you for the xTheFarmerx over here for sharing us all of his method. He also shared his trading filters that he used to make those divines. So over here with the notes, what we do is, on the first part, I'll teach you guys and I will go through the method he used in making those divines, starting with 1 divine, buying items for 1, 10, 15 Exalt. And on the second part, we're looking into the method of adjusting this method and how you can be incorporating this method into other weapons and also other gears, because likely a lot of people has watched this video and it won't be as profitable. And on the final part, I'll teach you guys additional tricks to make your items sell for more divines and also more currency. So coming over to our first part of the video, what you can see is, let's call him the farmer. The farmer over here actually uses a weighted sum filtering. So let me briefly explain the weighted sum filtering, and in case you guys are new to Path of Exile 2, there is method that you can filter on the filters for a lot of different things. You can see usually we just filter for and, if, and maybe can't. Over here he's filtering with weighted sum. So he's giving a weight for each of the individual stat that is preferable on a piece of gear. And because he was playing wizards and also sorcerers, he is going with wand, and also he's providing filters for the most important stats for the wand, and he's giving those a higher filter. And for the less important stats of the wand, like mana regen or mana, he's giving those less weighting. And together he has a total weighting, which combined with all of those will allow him to find the right item. Now, this might seem a little complicated. I'll provide the weighted filters for you guys to have a look, so you don't have to filter this yourself. And yes, I tried this method and my friend tried it. He was able to craft this particular wand, which sells for over 10 to 20 divine, and the investment was less than 5 divine. So after testing and also constructing this weighted sum filtering, the farmer over here also have a secondary filter which allows for the most important stat, which allows for all skill gems, all skill spells, all lightning spells. Because lightning spells with the spark build was the most popular during the time of the season, and it is still very popular and also very expensive, he was able to find a lot of good items with open affixes. So this is the second highlight. If you have seen our previous video, we talk about the open affixes of the amulets, and this is how I, after the crafting of those videos, those amulets and those rings I showed you guys in the previous video are selling like hot potatoes. Yes, they're selling for 1 divine each, and I'm selling a lot of them. So that video works perfectly. I have made over 5 or 6 divines out of that, and used the latest crafting method. I made over 13 divines in the past few hours. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out, because this will also cover the basics of crafting. So the farmer over here, not only he's picking up items using this weighted sum method, he's also looking for items with 2 open affix. You can go for items with 1 open affix, that can also work. So what does open affix means? So notice here the blue items has 4 open affix, because you can have up to 6 affixes. And here when we're searching for the items, you can see this item has 1 open affix because it has 5, and this item has no open affix. So the farmer over here mentioned that he was picking up items for 2 open affixes, which are usually be selling for the same or undervalued price compared to the item with 6 affixes. And what he later started to do is he started to buy those items and then simply crafting onto those items. So he started with 1 divine pretty much, and he was buying those items for about 10, 20, 30 exalt for the highest ones, and then he basically bought those which are slightly underpriced. Then he crafted those with exalt crafting, and this provided him with availability of reselling this one for the same price, selling for 2 times, 5 times, or even 20 times profit if he hit the right one. Now it is also possible during this time to use the chaos orbs to slam, which is more risky, which we also talked about in that previous video, so definitely have a look at that one. So to summarize the initial method, how do you start with 1 divine, is that you will be able to filter for items that is slightly underpriced using this new weighted sum method. And as you filter for those items, you can see items like those will come up. But you do not want items with all 6 affixes. You want items with 5 or even 4 affixes. So the weighted sum method actually have a weighting over here. Notice that there's a weighting over here. And this particular weighting will determine how valuable the item is, together with how many open affixes there are for you to start rolling on them with exalted orbs. And you can see over here with the summary coming from the video, with 2 open affixes, he was buying those items for 10 to 30 exalt. And after he slammed exalted orbs onto them, he can sell it or resell it for the same price. Or sometimes, most often enough, he was making additional 2 times profit or even 3 times profit by reselling the items after he rolled and also slammed with exalted orbs. So here we do have a pricing summary. You can see that he was buying those items for about 10 to 30 exalt, and this is how he started his crafting career in Path of Exile 2. And you can see those items were selling for about half a divine, 1 divine, 2 divine, and those can sell up to 20 divine. So there is a lot of profit to be made once you start to rolling on those items with exalted orbs. And using this particular method, the farmer was able to make starting from 1 divine all the way up to 100 to 150 divine. So during this time, he also gave us some valuable tips, which I also do as well at the early stage of the game. When he was buying items for 30 or 20 divine, he would often ask for a small discount and to say, hey, is it possible to buy it for like 5 or 3 exalted less? And during those times, he also recommended to be asking for a fair discount, maybe 10% less or 5% less than the original price. So maybe if he's selling for 30 exalt, you can be asking for 27 or 25 exalt. Similarly, if he's selling for 20 exalt, you can be asking for 15 or 18 exalt. But if you ask for 10 or 5 exalt, no one's going to sell it to you, right? So it's reasonable to ask for a slightly lower price, like 25 exalt, for a 30 exalt item. Sometimes you can do 27. And this will greatly enhance your profit margin and also help you when you have a lower capital, because it is the hardest to start this thing. Because at the start, you don't have much divine, you don't have much currency. So you want to have the lowest investment you can and to save those exalt orbs to buy more items or use them for crafting. So this means you also make bigger profits. So during this time, the farmer did this process for probably a week and he was able to make 100 to 150 divines. But he later realized that he was not making more divines because this method is not allowing him to make massive profits, even though it's good money, right? So what he did was he discovered a new method. He was then starting to buy the more endgame ones, which are selling for quite high. They were selling for about 3, 5, or 10 divines, and they always start with the most important affix to +5 to lightning skills. So what he did was, he then bought those for around 5, 10 to 12 divines, and then he slammed the Augur of Argumentation to add another affix, which can be rendered. But the biggest game changer he found out was to use something that is quite expensive but guarantees a secondary good affix. So he was using the Greater Essence of Haste, and this will guarantee that he can slam onto the item to make it rare with the casting speed. And a lot of the build for the lightning build wanted +5 to lightning skills and also additional casting speed. And if he was lucky to slam onto something like lightning damage or spell damage, this one itself would be selling for 10 to 50 divines already with the right affixes. So yes guys, this is one of the bigger discovery. Once you have saved enough investment or capital, you can then look into bigger crafting, which will give you amplified amount of income. So as the example you can see, one of his best ones was selling for 150 divine. In the video, I do recommend him watching his video. He was joking that he's going to call his mom because this is one of his biggest sales he ever had. So this one was crafted using this particular method. And basically, he has started to filter for the blue items with the best affix. And then he started to craft this one using greater essences, which we'll talk about on the second part to teach you guys about those. So this massive discovery allowed him to guarantee at least 2 good affixes out of the 3, which will greatly enhance the amount of the profit you can sell with those ones. And over here you can see some of the examples. He always starts with 3 or 2 good affixes, and once he uses exalted orbs onto the rest of the affix, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. And the times it doesn't hit, he can still resell this one for 10 to 20 divine, which is still higher than what he paid for with the initial investment. And so it follows, within 3 days, the farmer was able to make over 1000 divine and also 1 mirror from his capital of 150 divine. So yes, his income went exponential after discovering this later method. But the hardest part for most of us to get started is how do you start the investment with only 1 divine? So this is why I spend more time onto the first part to teach you guys how to get it started. I tried the similar method myself. Yes, I am selling items for 1 divine, and most of those items are investment under 10 to 30 exalted orbs. So this is a massive way of getting profit if you guys are short on currency to get started with crafting. And if you do want to see how I was crafting those amulets and also how I was filtering for those amulets, the previous video will show you everything together with the filtered links to search for those items. Now over here, the farmer also provided us with additional summary of his latest filters of how much profit he was making with those ones. You can see that his initial investment is around 4 divine, and this can go all the way up to 12, 30, 45, or even 100 plus divines because of the way he was crafting. So yes, this is extremely profitable, And definitely check out his video because everything is revealed in that video as well, with some really funny clips. So now coming to the second part. I do not want to provide you guys with a method that could be potentially out of date or maybe less profitable because of the popularity of the video guide. You can see that this video has gotten over 80,000 views, and likely after this video it probably go over 100,000 views. And more people are using those trade filters and also using the similar method. And maybe the Spark build, the one build, is not as popular as compared to it was in the first few weeks of the game. So do not follow this method 100% of the time, just be a little careful. And yes, I did try this one at the start, and my friend was able to craft this wand, which still sells for over 20 or 10 divine with a 5 divine investment. So the method still works, but it could be less profitable. So now the next question I have is, what can we do after learning this method? Well, here are some summary notes, and for those of you that is smart enough to learn this, you can replicate this method for any item, any build to be making tons of divines. So usually at the start of the new patch or changes, there will be some popular builds. This can be the popular build of the week or just of the meta of the season. So the guide is, let's find a few of the popular build that is available, and during the time of this video, it is the wand and also it is the spark and also lightning mages or sources. So ideally, you want to be the one that is also playing and also following this build. And this way, there's more understanding for you to see what are the top tier stats, what are the best affixes you can be filtering, and what are the weightings that you can be allocated to those items. This will be greatly important for you to have the best filter to be picking up the best items. And once you have understanding of the most popular build in the meta, and obviously you're probably playing those builds, then we're looking into craftable gears. We'll be looking for items with maybe +4 to +5 to skill ranks, or maybe certain items with amulets and also helmets. So in my previous videos, I was crafting mostly amulets and also rings. And you can see the all resist rings are selling, and also the +3 to minion skills are selling very quickly after some crafting. I bought most of those for 20 to 30 exalt, and I was buying them, a lot of them, and they're selling for 1 divine each at least. So once you have found craftable gears that is following a popular build at the moment, then you want to be setting your weighting sum. So one thing about setting weighting sum is you want to give higher weightings to the skills and also the ranking of the skills. And then the most important effects like casting speed and also spell damage for the sources should be prioritized, followed by the less important ones and followed by the less important ones. Notice that weighting is going down over here. Now I know it can be a little harder for you guys to do the weighting sum filters, and what I plan to do is I plan to make a few weighting sum filters, and after testing to see that they work, I'll be posting this one for the future videos for you guys, so you can be using those weighted sums for different items. My friend tried this with this particular item. You can see this one has a +7 to start off with, and because it had physical damage already, it is much easier to be crafting this one with more physical damage and also more attack speed. So yes, you can be making your own weighted sum for different items, or you can be waiting for us to be posting additional weighted sum filters for you to be looking for items. And during this time, you can start off small with 1, 10 or 30 exalt per item with a good open affix. And then you can move into the additional investment using 1 to 10 divines into the bigger investment. Now, one of the bigger highlights for crafting is that the usage of greater essence. We mentioned earlier in the video, if you guys remember, one of the biggest discovery from the farmer is using greater essences to craft for the third affix. And this allowed him to be selling his item for much higher. So let's have a look at the current price for those greater essences. And the ones that provide with the casting speed or the one with provide with the speed modifiers, is selling for about close to 2 divine. Yes, this is when you do the more expensive crafting. So this is why at the start of the recommendation, you're only using Exalted Orbs and also Chaos Orbs for the lower investment. But the bigger one comes in when you're using the more expensive Greater Essence and also Greater Omens. So over here, the example we had over here is my friend over here, and he was trying to use Omens and also using the Greater Essences for crafting for this bow. And some things we can look into is possibly the physical modifiers to provide us with more physical damage. So you can see a different example over here compared to the wand. Now during this time, it is important for us to understand the essence and also omens. And I do plan to have another video to teach you guys about crafting, because this video is getting too long, right? So in the final videos, likely we'll be learning from Belton. You can check out his video before the making of this video. And Belton was making 1 mirror a day, which is even more insane because he's using a lot of the expensive materials for crafting some of the mirror tier and also over 500 divine items, which is next level of course. So the final step you want to make a massive investment and also bigger divine income is to be buying base items with the right plus skill rank, and then you can be crafting with greater essences and also omens, and then finishing them off by selling those items. Even if those items don't craft correctly, they usually can be resold for the original purchase price. And there we have it guys, those are the step-by-step method to be making from one divine into over hundreds and also thousands of divines. And again, a big thank you for the farmer for sharing his method and also revealing all the trade secrets. And it's pretty funny in the comments, everyone saying the Wolf of Wall Street or the Wolf of Warcast. And it's like, I can't believe I'm playing with traders over here. So yes, a lot of good ways to be making some good profits once you understand the crafting. And I'll be teaching you guys this one step by step. Now, before we finish the video, I also want to provide you guys with some additional notes to help you make up or give a makeup to your items to help them to sell for higher. And a big thank you for all the viewers who's been sharing with me with those additional tips. So here is a small checklist. You want to be making items to quality 20. You can see both of those items are made to quality 20. It is more important for the weapons because they usually have a DPS check as well. So once you get the items to quality 20, then if you know the best socketing for those items and you know what's best in slot, you can be socketing for this one. For example, here we have a 40% increase to physical damage. Now, only socket items if you know exactly what you're doing. So the similar example is if you know the energy shield items, like the ones I'm selling for my friend, you can see this one is socketed with energy shield. It is also corrupted, which I do not recommend you guys to be corrupting those ones at this stage of the game. Now, something important over here is that we need to understand you can also add quality to rings and also amulets. And this will allow you to enhance a particular element damage or elemental resist together with all resist for a double dip. So over here, this is a little blurry. So this is just some random screenshots from my friend. This one is added with quality of life or modifiers for life. And notice the life is 178. And you can also add qualities to chaos resistance, which will provide more chaos damage and also more chaos resistance. Now, one of the best ways of adding more quality is actually adding qualities to a particular modifier like the cold, or fire, or lightning. So not only this provides us with a lot, like 50% cold resistance, which is 20% more from our original resist, it also increased the all resist. And this makes those items and rings selling for much, much higher. Now, in case you guys are wondering how are you getting those items, well, you can come over here to the exchange, and most of those items like the life and also the resistance, the cold, the fire modifiers, they sell for a lot cheaper. One exalt can potentially buy you 10, 20, or even 30 of those catalysts. And this means you just have to spend 1 to 2 exalt to make your item worth 10 or 30 exalt higher, because you now have a breakpoint over 50 cold resistance will definitely sell for much higher. I could even sell this ring for 1 divine. Now during this time, it is also possible to have qualities to amulets and also items that provide an existing skill. So this is coming from my friend Royal with his previous Blood Mage build, which is amazing. You gotta check it out in the links. So over here, he added a lightning modifier to this amulet that provided a lightning skill called Lightning Bolt. And what this also does is, not only he was able to get more lightning resistance because of that, 20% more lightning resistance, he was able to give this skill a 20 quality. So yes, the free skill that came with the amulet now have a 20 quality. So if you're matching the quality of the skills together with the catalyst, and this can give the skill more quality, and this will greatly enhance the skills and also the free skills you're getting from those items. So to summarize this part, you want to hit a certain breakpoint or a search point when people like to search for like 40% or 15% and sometimes 40% or 30%. If you're able to make over those breakpoints, your item can be selling for 5 or 10 times higher, or even 1 to 2 divine using the catalyst and also using the quality onto the items. So it is quite important for us to consider even quality the 6 link gems before selling them, and sometimes this will help you to sell higher. Now during this time, I also had questions whether it is worth it to anoint amulets before selling them. if you know the build and if you know the popular anointment, and if it doesn't cost much, like the one I'm using is costing around 3 to 5 exalt. And sometimes this may be worth it, but other times if the anointment costs over 5 or 10 divines, it is probably not worth it for this investment. Now, of course, a popular question I do get asked is that should you corrupt your gears before selling them? It is strongly not recommended to corrupt gears because this will greatly reduce your target audience. A lot of players will not be searching for corrupted gears, and this leaves no room for them to be crafting, to be changing the stats, or even changing or adding sockets to the item. And this also takes away the surprise the buyers like to have when they can corrupt their own gears. But that said, I have had a friend who had this corrupted shield. He was going for Thorns build, and obviously it did not work out. We tested it out. Thorns build is not great at the moment. But he corrupted the gear to provide more Thorns damage. And notice that this shield, which was originally selling for 10 exalt, is now selling for 1 divine. So yes, in rare circumstances, corruption can still work. So keep in mind, I'm not saying you can't do corruption. Most of the gears I have been selling are not corrupted, and this just allows me to sell them easily because people want to anoint them, people want to quality them, people want to add sockets to them. But in rare situations, if you corrupt and get lucky with the gears, you can sell for a lot. So I don't want to disclose that you should never corrupt items, but just recommend guys, do not risk this unless you're super well off, you have a lot of currency, and you just want a little bit of gambling for crafting. Now I know this can be a little long video, so make sure you guys use the timestamps below for everything that's related. We also have tons of notes for basic crafting and also other methods of crafting, so make sure you also check out those video guides because these will help you to understand everything related to crafting. And also, stay tuned for the future videos because we'll be learning more method of crafting and also even more advanced method using omens and also essence to go beyond and also to make a mirror a day in Path of Exile 2, which will sound really amazing, right? Now, hopefully you guys found today's video helpful. Again, a big thank you to everyone on YouTube, especially our supporters and also those of you guys who's been supporting me on Patreon as well. And we do have a new feature on the Mattjestic YouTube channel. If you click onto this, you can become a member. Yes, I've added this just recently, and this will allow you to have early access to videos that is posted a few hours or even half a day earlier if you want to watch those videos a little early. But yes, this will cost money. So please be aware the membership will cost money. And if you do want to watch videos normally, those videos will still be available after 6 to 12 hours, normally on the time we post those videos. And I'll be aiming to post at least 1 Path of Exile video a day, and this will be including guides, tips, news update, and also the latest tricks that is discovered on both the English and also Chinese community to keep you guys updated. And if you like those videos, make sure you leave a nice comment and also leave a like for those videos. Now, before we finish, if you guys haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so because I'll be looking into the latest Path of Exile 2 news on different communities and also on our official forum, official webpage. I'll also be looking into the best build for each of the class as the meta develops with the Chinese and also the English community. So stay tuned for the latest update and also guides for Path of Exile 2. And of course, this is going to be a big month for us. And I'll try to bring you guys all of the latest content and also guides for Path of Exile 2 to come.